Welcome to the Construction Brothers Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Campbell, and with me, like he is every week, my brother, Eddie Campbell.
What's up, Tyler?
Not much, Eddie. This week, how to fix a stalling project.
That what's up? It came from a little bit.
What's up? Yeah, I know.
The
Yeah,
sickness is still just kind of lingering a little bit. I reached down and it was not quite as down as I thought it was going to be. Anyway.
Yeah, you've been dealing with flu or
I don't know.
strep or COVID or something?
We
over
just
the
call
past
it the
couple
crud.
weeks? The crud.
Just the crud.
Okay.
We're not going to dig too deep into what that was, but it's gone now, kind of, mostly.
Well, that makes me feel good.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, and I would like to keep it that way,
Okay,
personally.
I'll stay over here.
Yeah, well, yeah, good. Are we 6 feet right now? I don't feel like we are. Maybe head to head, maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter. No, so, dude, Hank woke up at 3:30 a.m. last night, and he just, like, came over and he, like, grabbed my hand and, like, pulled me out. This is my 2-year-old, by the way, if you don't know. He pulls me out in the kitchen, and he starts pointing at the pantry. And I was just like, are you kidding me? So, like, the boy's a midnight snacker or a middle of the night snacker. That's not quite midnight.
Middle of the morning
Middle of the morning snacker. So I'm like, how can I be a healthy parent here and help him eat? Well, no. I threw all the goldfish and gummy
Gave him
bears.
the goldfish.
I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just eat as much as you can so you'll pass out again, sir. And at 3:30, I had an epiphany. I really do not like this trend that we have of people telling you how to live your life.
You discovered that?
No, I just had a renewed irritation with it.
You were irritated already.
I was irritated already because it was 3:30 a.m.
Yeah.
But what's funny is that we get a lot of crap online that tells us you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and I know that's hilarious that we're getting ready to talk about things that you should do. So the irony, I get it.
The irony is not lost here.
It's not lost. I'm just no. What's interesting is that there are phases of life that everybody goes through.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm in a phase right now where 3:30 a.m. or 5 a.m. with my kid is pretty normal. And then you get online and you start doing the scroll, the death scroll, and you start hearing all this crap of like, you should be waking up at 6 a.m. and going to the gym, or you should be going for a run today, and you should be eating more salad, Tyler, and you should be making sure that you get outside and get some sunlight. Hey, how about you screw off? Like, seriously, this is driving me crazy.
You don't like that.
I know, but like
the sun isn't up. I mean,
it's not up when I wake up.
You can't go get it yet.
I can't do it. So what am I doing? I'm drinking coffee like a freaking crazy person is what I'm doing. And all of this to say, if you're in a season like this, cut yourself some slack. I've been through a season like this before, and I know it's going to pass, but social doesn't really help you all that much. It makes you feel like crap, like you're not doing enough. Yep. And sometimes just life is out of whack. Sometimes life is out of balance, and that's okay.
Yeah, reference a previous episode about balance being the myth.
It is.
Yeah.
And I keep kind of going back to that, man. Like, I'm doing a lot of travel lately. Like, I was in San Antonio. I was out in Denver. Like, we were doing shoots and stuff, and it's a lot. And then I roll back here into town, and it's like, all right, well, I got to put more time in with the family.
Right.
But also, I got to catch up on the stuff that I've been slacking on, like this podcast, like we got to come in and record a podcast. And I feel like people just get down on themselves a lot for just being like, man, why don't I have my priorities straight? Oh, man, why don't I? Like, okay, I'm all for being organized. I'm all for, like, trying your best to, put in the effort so that it's not craziness and controlling the chaos. But, man, just give yourself some grace here. There are seasons where sometimes you just can't control it. You got to shrug. You got to put your head down. You got to get through it. And you'll get it on the other side. It's okay. It's all right. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody needed that this morning.
You did.
Huh?
You did.
I needed to rant for a minute on this because I'm feeling it right now, man. Like 3:30 a.m. is freaking early.
No, it's tough. It's tough when you're there with the young kids, and so all I can say is hang in.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Anyway, so this week we are talking through fixing a stalling project or helping getting a stalling project to move again.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so we're going to give all the advice that we had talked about, all these other people doing and how I don't like that, but we're going to do that anyway. So yeah, again, irony not lost here, but fixing a stalling project. What are we talking about?
Yeah. So first the problem. Like what are we talking about? What is the stalling project?
What is the stalling project?
And I think this comes in a lot of different variations, but projects, I mean, you can hit little stone walls as you go through the process of a project. You're going to. Mm-hmm. There are going to be some things that move forward without much help. They went fine. They weren't a big deal. And then there are going to be some other things that just hit a wall. For whatever reason, there's a thing that hits a wall. And so this may be an individual task within a project, or this may be something like, project to project, like a whole project. This just seems to be up against a wall. We can't move it forward.
Yeah.
And so the problem that we see a lot is that we're tooling along, like we're trying to be a production-oriented crew. Mm-hmm. And so I'm speaking from the BIM realm. We're production-oriented. We're hours-oriented. We give a lump sum for a project, and then we have an idea of the amount of time that we want to do that project in. And part of that, and probably the biggest part of it that we've seen, the part that's going to make us either profitable or not, is how quickly can we move through the things that are going to stop progress, those questions that stand in our way.
Yeah.
Because no set of drawings is just absolutely and utterly complete. Like it just gives you 100% of everything. This very seldom happens where we can just get from start to finish. And then you throw on top of that the project that you get an early release on, which has become more and more common. It's very common in steel because we're one of the first things up. We got to get that steel out there. You got to get the building going. And steel detailing is a known thing. It's got this shop drawing duration time. We got to get through that.
Yeah.
So let's release on early drawings. It's like it's this epiphany that project teams come to, and they're like, hey, I have an idea.
What if we did it early?
What if we just released it on an earlier set of drawings, and then we can crash the schedule in this way? So you do that, but then there are inevitably questions.
Yeah.
And you get your back up against the wall with those questions because sometimes those questions just don't want to move. Mm-hmm. So you send the RFI, and the RFI goes off, comes back, and maybe the RFI comes all the way back, and there's like actually no answer to the RFI.
Right.
The RFI is answered and maybe even closed out by the project team, and that basically the answer is not yet.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here, with kind of a shoulder shrug, going, well, when are we going to get the RTU frames? Ever?
Yeah.
When will that elevator be coordinated? When are you going to bring the trade on that I'm looking for? Operating room lights, the striker lights.
Yep.
I mean, those are one that they sit, they linger, and there's like this mounting plate detail that you got to match, and it just can really drag out. There are just these little items. Operable partition walls is another one. These coordination items hold a project hostage.
They really do.
I mean, they can just kill you.
I've seen RTU frames do it, which is crazy to me. Just RTU frames will kill your project, which is nuts to me. It's like it's so small in the scope of like steel. I mean, I guess for the rest of the building, that's a pretty big scope item. Yeah.
Yep.
But dude, it will hold the project hostage every single time.
Right. Okay. Some real world examples. Yeah. Real world examples. Things that I've seen stall a project.
Yep.
Okay. So decorative curtain wall on the front of a project that has say multiple sides leaning in different directions.
Yep.
And there has been some drawing done at it, but we're still early, and the curtain wall hasn't been completely figured out yet, and therefore the steel that's supposed to back it up perfectly hasn't really been figured out yet either. You've got aluminum extrusions that have to run parallel to your steel perfectly, and then glass that goes in. You've got, kind of the visual of the whole thing that, here's a kind of a key piece to the project that everybody's going to look at. And there's a lot of steel in that.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows where that steel goes.
Steel and glass and everything.
And we're supposed to detail it out, and the project's supposed to move forward on a shop drawing schedule that submits that for approval, but we don't even really know what we're submitting for approval. So there's an example there.
Yeah.
Another one would be like a little outpatient facility where it's in a seismic region. For whatever reason, the SUR decides that he wants like channels, like bolted in, like hard frame channels that are a part of the roof structure. They're just bolted into the roof beams.
Yeah.
Well, that means that we've got to know exactly where they go. And there's a very exacting detail around the curb and things that have to happen to fasten that curb down for the rooftop unit. And we throw RTUs around a lot. What we mean is a rooftop unit or an air conditioning, like a package unit that goes on your roof.
Yep.
So we're trying to coordinate with the mechanical, get the structural and mechanical to agree, but that information's not quite there. Maybe the general contractor doesn't quite know how to coordinate the two because he hasn't had that experience yet, or the mechanical guy's being a little bit obstinate for whatever reason, just doesn't want to surrender the information. The information isn't there to be had. We've seen this specifically with elevators, where we're trying to get an elevator nailed down. Maybe the elevator's up in the air. We don't quite know which elevator vendor we're going with. Like we're trying to work through whether this is going to be a Schindler or Otis or ThyssenKrupp or whoever. And so we're in a spot where, there may be inches of difference in the elevator shaft, and we have steel that has to go around that elevator shaft. And or even a CMU enclosure that has steel in it in order to get the separator beams. One after another. One trade has to coordinate with another. We're not quite that. Or perhaps drawings haven't been completely done and you're stalled. One of the biggest things that'll stall a job is grid lines that disagree between architectural and structural drawings.
Yes.
If you want to make something stall directly and immediately out of the ground, set a set of architectural drawings that have one set of grid lines on it, maybe even a marginally different overall dimension, and then a set of structural drawings that have another set of grids on them. That will stop you at square one.
Yeah.
Now, it's you can sit there and say, how the heck would you allow a set of drawings to get out on the streets where the grids don't even agree? And there's a lot of ways that can happen.
Refer to the first point we made, which is let's release everything early.
In an early release, or even in the release of design, where who gets the last look at the coordinated thing that we were doing?
Right. Yeah.
Who gets the very last look and says, well, okay, so the architect asks his consultants to turn all of their sets in, by March 1st. And then the architect's going to go out on March 15th and release the whole thing for the final and coordinated set.
Yeah.
Let's say that something happens between March 1st and March 15th that just marginally just changes grid lines. And then communication goes back to the structural engineer. Hey, these grid lines are going to change a little bit. You need to catch this in your next release when we go from 75% to 90%. Yeah, okay, I got it. I'll pick it up. But we're going to go ahead and release this. And then the idea is there like, well, but we are going to release it and we're going to get detailing going off of it. Boom. There you got disagreeing grids. You got a detailer who doesn't know what to do. Your project's literally stalled. I just got a release. Hey, everything looked good. But then I back-checked architecturals against structurals and I realized the two don't agree. And then I go back to a general contractor who may not have been a part of that conversation, and things stall. Things die. And when I say stall, I mean like dead in the water stall.
Yeah,
like I'm just having a hard time moving forward anymore. And your project schedule is being just completely obliterated and you can't get the thing to move.
Yeah.
Like the question goes out, no answers come back.
So you've answered a lot of like, all right, the what, this
that's
is
the what.
what it is. And I feel like you're kind of bridging over into the why now, like why it happens, right?
Maybe less why it happens.
Or how.
I think, yeah, how it happens is where we've been. Why it's a big deal is like kind of the next step in the whole thing, right? So, okay,
you'll lose weeks.
Construction happens. Why is it a big deal? Okay, so in the grid scenario, and I have a specific project in mind.
Okay.
We're released on the job in November. I've promised a 6 to 8 week shop drawing duration turnaround.
Yep.
And then we find a grid bust. And the grid bust is a like job stopping grid bust. So the question goes back up to the general contractor who thinks we're released and going. And we try to make the point, we're not going, we're not able to go. This has got the whole job dead in the water because we can't put the steel where it needs to go to really detail the steel anyway.
Yep.
So the RFI goes out. And then it stays in the hands of the architect who is trying to get with maybe an offshore engineer for like 6 weeks. That's the entirety of my shop drawing duration that I've lost waiting on grids to come back. And then put that at a time where we're going, well, I can't work on this. What happens?
You work on other things.
You have to work on other things. Like, can I seriously be expected to twiddle my thumbs for 6 weeks waiting on the exact moment your thing comes back so I can get immediately back to work on it? No, you weren't prepared. You didn't have your homework done.
That's not how
I have something else step in front. That's not how the world works.
Yeah.
You just got to the back of the line, and that line might have just gotten longer. Hey, I couldn't control that you got out of line, but you got out of line because of things that were outside of my control, and I tried to tell you as best I could that they were outside of my control.
Yep.
Here you go. 8 weeks later, we're back to square one trying to work on things. So November turns into January. Well, you think about something. You come back, you land your RFI on me, and you land your RFI on me on the week of Christmas when we've got some downtime, some off time.
It's not going to happen, bro.
And nothing happening there.
Yep.
And then guess what happens the first week of January? Well, the bum rush of being off for a week. Or you land something on me on July 4th. You know, that stall can have a lot of ripple in your project. Now, I want the project managers out there that they're with general contractors, or maybe the architects out there, the engineers out there that are listening, to understand the ramifications of this, because it's not just like this little 1-for-1 time loss. Like, you're losing 2-for-1, 3-for-1. Like, this is a lot of time loss because you're going to the back of the line.
Yeah.
When you get stalled, things have to be put in front.
Yeah.
And once they do get put in front, a lot of times they need to be finished. Like, they got the spot in line. They had their homework done. They were ready to go. And so reference previous rant on the whole water fountain line.
Water fountain line. I was thinking of that, the whole time. Yep.
I mean, go back to that one.
Yep.
And so this stall, it creates a lot of havoc for the project.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. There's also a whole other emotional component of this. When your project just won't go, when I can't work on it for any length of time without having a question that's a show-stopping question,
Yep.
and then it takes a long time to get answers, I'm disheartened by that. And my ability to emotionally just come back and work on it with everything I've got continually goes down.
Yeah.
My give-a-darn goes down a lot. And so there's a part of it that I start to lose interest.
Yeah.
I'm almost, at some point, if I've got enough work that's interjected in front of yours, I'm almost hoping that your project goes away because I'm so done. Tell me you haven't been there.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. Like 1 in 5 projects, I would say. Maybe 2 in 5.
1 in 5. 1 in 5.
Yeah.
20% of the projects you work on.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, folks? This is somebody who worked in it for a decade, unprompted. 1 in 5.
1 in 5.
That's
a rough guess.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
Let's call it
hang
1
my
in
head.
10.
Yeah, even then.
Even then.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be my 1 in 10? And if you are, what's going to happen to your steel?
We see 100 projects a year too, man.
Yeah,
Like
your
that,
steel or
let
your
that
whatever.
give a scope, like, or like just a view of how often that happens.
Yes.
Because somebody's a turd, or you name it. There are a lot of different things that can go into stalling a project.
Well, and we'll
But
get
yeah,
into
we'll get
some
into
of that in just a minute.
Yeah.
The real thing that I want to bring home is just that there's impact here, and that also, if you think that your project isn't one of those projects, there are a lot of those projects as a percentage.
I would wager every project has a pocket of this happening to it. It may not be a showstopper, but there are pockets within every single project that are just overlooked or little things. And hey, we're human. I get it.
Yep.
I get it. But I think there are pockets within every single project where this happens.
Well, let me let you in on a little game too. A little game that subs like to play called I Need an Excuse. And you just gave me one.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, so in a busy market, now in a non-busy market, I might be like really wishing that your thing would go on and finish so I can get my final bills in and get done with it and be down the road. And ultimately, every project I feel that way about. I would much rather work a project, work it well, be done with it, and get on down the road. I'm way more profitable. I'm way more happy. My team's more happy when it can happen that way.
Yeah.
But there's another side of this. There's a gamesmanship to it. And that is, if I've got a bunch of different projects, a bunch of different work going on, and your project's the problem child, and I'm trying to prioritize as best I can. I'm trying to be as fair as I can. I'm trying to work on everything the way I said I was going to work on it. And I'm even putting the overtime in. I'm coming on the weekends. I'm doing all of the things that I can do to try to move your project forward.
Yeah.
But I come in on Saturday, and every time I try to push, I can't push your project. At some point, like if I'm overtasked, those overtasked subs are going to use this. They're even going to, I would venture to say, they're going to look for the excuse.
Oh, yeah.
Not to work on your stuff. Doesn't ever, nope. Did I say that out loud?
No.
Did I actually say out loud the game that so many people play every day in this industry? They do it. They look for an excuse not to work on the thing. How does that make any sense? We're supposed to make money by working on things and getting them complete. It's because I've got a lot of things to work on. I've got plenty of things to go and try to make money on. And I would much prefer to make money on the one that I can actually move. So
it's gonna be more profitable.
Yeah,
for sure.
Your stalled project, I may, if I'm the wrong guy in the wrong moment with the wrong amount of work, I may even be looking to stall your project because it's good for me. It's expedient for me to find reasons not to work on your crap.
Ouch.
Big
ouch.
Wait a minute. Let me get that. I said it out loud.
Put that back in your mouth.
It happens. It just as much as the opportunistic sub that's looking for mistakes on the drawings to CO you on. Happens.
Yep.
But this side of it happens as well, where I'm actually looking excuses not to work on your stuff. And if you hand me a crap set of drawings that has disagreeing grids and RFI everywhere, and then you take more than 2 seconds to answer me, you're going to get a brick put on your work, and you're going to get delayed. And you can send every nastygram under the sun to try to make me move, but it ain't going to work.
Yep.
You're going to have to surrender information. And so that stalled project can become a real problem. That stalled project can become a place where a lot of games are played. And then there's the other side of that where people have been snowed like that. They've actually been a part of the snow job.
Yep.
And they're almost looking for the snow job.
Okay, define snow job.
Where I'm snowing you over. I'm trying to get you looking at one thing while I'm doing another. So I'm trying to get you to believe that, I've been so busy and I'm sending all these RFI, but they won't. Yeah. And I'm really just looking for excuses.
Yep.
I'm not doing my job.
Yep.
I could move the thing.
Yep.
I'm finding I'm finding trivial questions. So I do want to kind of pull apart, like there's a snow job that can happen out there where I'm just finding a billion different stupid questions to ask you. And then there's the legitimate stall.
This is why we're kind of advocates for building teams, yeah? Like building trusted partners within your...
Where you can tell the truth
Yeah.
and say, legit.
That's what happens. Is
Here
like
it
when
is.
Bill or Tina over there says, hey, I really can't move this, you know.
Yes.
You know. But if it's a new sub that you're just now working with for the first time, it's really hard to tell whether or not they're being serious.
Yeah.
Whether or
every
not they're
time
trying...
you call,
Yeah,
you're like,
Yeah. So
just
where
get
you
this
can
uneasiness.
bring together contractors, subs, for the GCs, or for anybody for that matter, people that you can rely on every single time. Because, all right, let me give you a real world example of this in video production, because that's basically what my company's doing now. And the thing that I'm focused on is finding people that I trust, right?
Yeah.
And I have a team of people that I trust. And if I could go out and, save $5,000 by going out and, hiring another DP or another PA or like all of these different positions within a video set, I could go out and do that. But I know from my history in construction, that's not a good way of doing it. A good way of doing it is finding, Bradford, who I trust, or Tyler, who I trust over here. Like, it's sticking with those people. I may pay more. That's okay, though, because I know at the end of the day, they're going to make my client happy. They're going to make me happy. They're going to do well themselves. Like, we're all going to be happy if we're working together. And so I'm trying to execute that on like a smaller scale in video production. It goes to anywhere, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not just in construction. Like, this goes anywhere in your career. If you're managing people, find the people that you trust, get rid of the people that you don't. And your jobs, your projects are going to be heaven in comparison to what you've been dealing with before. Because if you're shopping around for the cheapest option or the most, blingy option,
Well,
careful.
so
Careful. I'm all for looking around and finding new resources. That's fine.
Yeah.
But be willing to build into those resources. Be willing to put trust into those resources. Give them an opportunity to shine.
Absolutely.
And build that relationship. Otherwise, you're not going to be any better than anybody else.
So, I mean, great intro into our what the heck do we do about it? It really is. I mean, what you said there, that should be probably point number one, is build a team that you can trust. So what do we do about it? How do we thwart the stalled project?
Do you mind me digging into that just a touch more on the team side before we move to the next thing? All right. So like Bradford, I'm going to use him as an example here. My cinematographer. I worked with him a lot. I trust him now. First job, it was like, all right, we're trying to figure out how to communicate. We're trying to figure that out. How can I make sure that he has what he needs? But also what's really cool is that he's concerned about, what do I need? Like, hey man, are you going to have enough stuff for later? Am I getting everything that you need for you? And he's just checking in and I'm checking in with him. It's a two-way street and we're talking to each other. Now that we've worked together a lot, I know when he's getting stressed. I know when something's going wrong. I can look over there and be like, oh, nope, something's up. Something's up. And I can get my butt over there and talk to him. Now, this is an example of people that are working in the trenches together, like we are boots on the ground, like San Antonio, like boots on the ground in an architecture office. We're working through problems, like trying to figure out ways to do this. We're able to look each other in the eye. So we have that benefit. But even then, it's like I've worked with people virtually as well, where I know when they're saying certain things, okay, I got to go catch up with them. Like, people don't give themselves the luxuries. Honestly, businesses don't give their people the luxury of building a team. Like big GCs, they don't give their people the luxury of going out and building a real team under them. They force feed them. They say, okay, no, this is how we do business.
Yeah.
It's 3 bids and a buy. Always. Every single time. We don't really care about, building teams. They say that they do. They say, oh yeah, no, we care about, working with really, really solid. No, you're still doing the 3 bids and a buy crap. get off it. You're lying through your teeth. I think we kind of put ourselves in this position. In other words, like I think businesses can put themselves in this position where they just force feed their people into doing the 3 bids and a buy routine and just trying to find that lowest bid, trying to find the floor. And I know that if I did that on a very small scale, it would break my company. It would break my company. If I had to relearn my cinematographer every single shoot and how that person ticks, how that person communicates, if I had to relearn my audio guy every single time, if I had to relearn like my lighting package every single time, I'm using video as but it's easy to kind of wrap your head around. If I had to do that, it would be a bloody mess. It would be a mess. And we're doing that all the time in construction, guys. Like we're rebuilding our team from scratch every project. And that sucks. That's not a good way to work. I'm here to tell you. Like, because if I was to do that on a small scale, man, it would break me. It would break me. And we're doing that on a crazy large scale. Crazy large projects. Way bigger than anything that I'm working on. Every day. And we're rebuilding the team from scratch. How does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think that there are some people out there that they know who their good subs are.
They do.
They go back to those people again and again, and they're tried and true, and they got a good relationship. But point taken. I mean, develop that team, develop that rapport, develop that honesty, reap the benefit of all the things that come out of it.
And be willing to ask for, okay, I'm going to say this, be willing to ask for a discount where it makes sense. Like, let's say you do, like, hey, man, you know, Tina, you came in a little high on this one, and I really was hoping for this. This is what I had budgeted. If you've worked together for 10 projects, and Tina knows, hey, there's 10 more projects on the back burner on this thing, they will drop their prices. If you're a good client, they'll be like, yeah, we got you. We got you. It's all good. Because I know I'm gonna make it up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be okay. If you try to do that on the first one, heck no. Discount on the first job? Flip no. No, you give that to your good clients, right? Like that's the way it should operate. So I don't know, guys. It was on my mind a lot this week.
All right, so I want to get over into a little bit of why this happens and what to do about it. Yeah. So there are a lot of different reasons why the thing can stall. Mm-hmm. So I've gone into some of the coordination issues, but it's amazing to me how finesse plays a role in project management.
Holy cow, yes.
And we could call it finesse, we could call it soft skills, we could call it whatever you want, but your ability to just kind of understand where the question needs to go, who needs to get asked, what shoulders need to be rubbed to make them feel a little bit better in order to get something off of center. Yep. Okay? So what can take all of the pressure off of something like this, like we're in a stall, is just understanding. And so finding that understanding is a big deal. All right, scenarios. So in the grid dimensioning bust, having it go back through the general contractor, the architect, to sit on somebody's desk, and nobody says anything for 6 weeks is a lot different than having something go back to the general contractor, get to the architect's desk, and maybe the general contractor having the wherewithal to say, I need to understand what's happening there. I need to go back and talk to this designer. I need to go both directions. I need to talk to the person who sent the RFI and understand better the ramifications of this thing. Mm-hmm. And then I need to go up the food chain, and I need to get to where the answer is coming from, and I need to understand why or why not. What's going on with this answer? Like, why can't it come to me? Why do you have it held up? Mm-hmm. And it's amazing when you just start to understand, like, I'm embroiled in trying to handle comments from the owner, comments from permitting, comments from both. Mm-hmm. We've got a whole nother set of design documents coming out in like the next week, and it fixes the grid dimensioning problem, and I'm going to ignore you. Mm-hmm. Because I'm about to answer your question, your RFI, by a simple drawing release. You don't even have to worry about it anymore. It was a known issue. Maybe on the coordination side of things, like mechanical coordination or plumbing coordination or, whatever it is, maybe I haven't onboarded that person yet. I haven't hired them and they're not under contract. Maybe if I have sent the RFI, I've got somebody on that I'm coordinating with, but they're very reluctant to give me any information. Understanding why they have that reluctance. Okay, so getting to the bottom of, well, I've never really done it before.
Yeah.
Okay, well, has your boss? Like maybe this has been assigned to you, but who else would we need to rope into this process that does understand how this coordination is supposed to work? And we could get them on with us, and then maybe they could give us like 5 quick tips on how to do this thing.
Yeah.
And we're back off to the races without completely embroiling them and making it their responsibility.
Yeah, that's a great point there, man. It's like, how often do you think things stall because people just aren't sure what the next step is, or they've not done it before, and they're almost too scared to ask.
Maybe I'm uncertain of something, but sometimes we have this tendency to ignore things that we're uncertain. Like, I don't know what to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
You ever been asked a question just in life where you're like, I don't know the answer to that. Like, hey, man, what you doing Friday? Friday at 5 o'clock, what you doing? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I probably need to talk to my wife and see what's going on with the fam. And I think we might have had something, but... And then you like, maybe it's a text and you just let it sit because you're like, I can't answer
I'm
that
notorious for
right
this.
now. And then that sits and bakes. And then like Thursday, you get the question mark or the sub or the...
Don't be a question mark person. Let me just stop you there. Don't be the question mark person.
I get you.
Okay.
But you get that back. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you don't know the answer, so you don't answer.
Yeah.
That does happen. Understanding why. Getting into, that's the finesse part.
Yeah.
The finesse part is like, this is the thing that separates kind of the really great project managers that I've ever worked with from the ones that are kind of like so-so for the ones that really stink. The ones that are great have a way of kind of just like having a feel for this thing. They almost feel when somebody's uncomfortable and they go over and they're able to just kind of bring them along into the process and say, hey, let's look at this. What you got? What's going on? Like they get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and I would say that they don't do that in front of everybody. They don't make an example out of somebody ever.
They have a sense of how to do it.
They will pull them off to the side where nobody else can hear, and they can say, "Hey man, what's up? Hey, how's it going? Yeah, how's the family doing? Cool. Awesome. Formalities out of the way. Sweet. Hey, listen, I'm sensing that you're just a little bit uncomfortable on this stuff. Is there anything that I can do to help you here? Like maybe I'm just stupid here. Maybe I just got this wrong. I don't know." And like bring it back on yourself. Like it's being able to calculate how can I get my foot in there to just help them feel a little more comfortable. To I'm gonna say empower them to go find the information that they need or ask the person that they need to ask for that information.
Yeah.
Like that is what separates the okay-ish project managers from the amazing project managers is being able to just feel that out, but also being able to get in there and not take advantage of anybody, but just get in there and get the information that you need on that person and try to help them get to that next step, to get unstalled.
The great project managers know how to appropriately break rank. How to and notice what I said. How to appropriately break rank.
Yes.
In order to get a thing moving. They understand when communication has broken down at the hands of the person that's standing in between them and another. And they give a quick little call and say, hey, and they iron it out, and then they step back, and the process happens, and things move. The great project managers have a sense about how to make it move. They know how to grease the tracks. The good or mediocre project managers know how to keep the records. They keep up with all their email. They keep all the the systems up to date. I know exactly where the RFI are. I'm like, Yeah, I can tell you exactly what's going on with every RFI, and I can give you every reason why I'm not doing anything. So I know all of the things. The mediocre project manager knows exactly why he's sitting on his hands and things aren't moving forward and has all of his T's crossed and I's dotted. The great project manager knows all of those things and is able to get around them and is able to somehow find a way. Man, we used to get this lecture in baseball all the time.
Yeah.
There were the guys that knew how to take a sign and say, oh, I got a bunt. Okay, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do all the fundamentals. And I'm going to try to bunt and, oop, that went just foul. Okay, darn. Okay, I'm going to get another sign. And they try it again. Oh, didn't quite get it done. The great ones, like they look at the coach. They already knew the game. They knew the sign was coming. They didn't even need the thing to begin with. They get up there and they find a way to get the bunt down where it needs to be. They find a way. You see this all over sports. The great ones find a way.
Yeah.
And that's the project managers too. They work off of instinct. They work off of interpersonal relationship skills that they just have a gift in, and they're able to make it move. They grease the tracks. The bad project managers muddle the communication, muddle just the interpersonal relationships in the project, and they get in the way. They become an impediment.
Well,
they actually slow the thing down.
They house all the information on their desk, and that information doesn't go anywhere. A lot of times,
the really bad ones aren't even organized.
Well, that's fair. I guess it can go both ways, where they're almost sending off information just willy nilly, like the forward monsters.
They don't even understand.
They don't understand what's going on. They pass. They're a pass through. That's literally it. And they don't even read anything. But then the other side of it is that they've got all this information siloed to where they've got all their T's crossed and their T's crossed and their I's dotted. Can't talk. They've got that down, and they know exactly where everything's at.
Yep.
But they don't let anybody else know. They don't talk to anybody else. They're really good at collecting data and organizing it and making it look really great and pretty and stuff. They know exactly where everything's at, but they don't let anybody else know about it because they suffer. They're not as good in the interpersonal side. Like they're a little more introverted. So like I would say they're like, you have to kind of ask yourself, where do I kind of fall on that gradient of project manager? Like, where am I at right now? Am I kind of the forward monster? Or am I the person that just gets a ton of information and houses it? Or maybe there's something else in between there. The project managers take a lot of different shapes and sizes, that's for sure.
I think this is a call for, like, if you want to install a project, have some instinct. I think if you want to be a great project manager, have some instinct. Have some instinct.
And that takes development over time.
It does. But begin to develop that. Mm-hmm. Because that's the X factor in making the thing work like it wouldn't have worked. Those people are special.
So we don't just say have instinct and leave it there. Developing instinct. What is that to you? Like how do I develop the instinct over time so that I do get better, that I can progress from an okay project manager to a great one? How do those people do that? How do they develop the instinct necessary?
So one thing is stay outside of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Try to stay above the situation and command the project, right? Keep the thing in front of you. So you get down in the middle of it and get so embroiled that you're not seeing around, you're not going to do this well. Mm-hmm. Stay above it. But I want you to stop and think about this conversation about having instinct, develop instinct. I want you to start, instead of trying to win the Not My Job award, I want you to go and own a few things that you wouldn't have owned.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to run the risk of working outside of your purview a little bit in order to do what's right for the project.
Yeah.
So let's start with, let's do the right thing instead of starting with what's going to make me money. Mm-hmm. Instead of starting with, you're wasting my time. So don't be pompous. Don't be arrogant. Start with that humility. And out of that humility, I want you to look around and try to see and empathize with the plight of the people around you. What's going on with the general contractor?
Yeah.
Where's the project at? What are they being handed? What kind of architect is there? What kind of owner's representatives there? What kind of project is this? Try to understand more than just your little speck of the world. And as detailers, I can say we're the world's worst at this. Mm-hmm. Because we're trained to put everything under a microscope and look at a scope that's like, minute.
Right.
Just this baby little thing. And we just analyze the crap out of it. So don't be that. I want you to try to see the rest of the world for all that it is. And then in that, I want you to try to operate knowing that, hey, there are a lot of different people in this project. And I might not be the exact priority of their moment. But if I ask for help, if I say the word help, maybe that could get me somewhere. If I express why this is important, and I express that well, if I not only write the RFI, but I also make a little call afterward. And I say, instead of just saying, gotcha, no, I emailed it to you on November 14th. Mm-hmm. No, remember when I emailed you on November 14th and then I followed up with that call? And I explained to you that in order for me to move this forward, like this is a very big deal. I really need to convey this. Do you want me to get on with the general contractor with you as well so that we can both convey that?
Make sure that they understand. I think
Understanding.
Understanding.
Yes.
We have a paragraph RFI, right? Like there's all sorts of like sections and details and blah, 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 all that crap that gets called out, right? Okay. Call and just say, I just sent you an absolutely massive RFI here. Like it's just a lot to kind of work through. So I wanted to talk with you through it to make sure that you understood what I was getting at. Because I know it can get muddy sometimes. So, how can I help? How can I help? I think boil it down to be a helper. How can I help the people around me? If you're over the project, how do I help the people below me? If you're not over the project, if you're just in it and you're a, lowly supervisor, like whatever, I don't know. Like if you're just a laborer out on site, I don't care which position you hold, be a helper. Because if everybody in the project is being a helper, we're getting stuff done.
Yes.
We're getting stuff done. And so for me, I think kind of the cherry on top is being able to ask the people around you for feedback and actually taking it and doing something with it. And that is freaking hard, but developing instincts requires consistent look, like a consistent look in the mirror. You have to constantly be looking at yourself and saying like, where am I at? Yeah. What am I good at right now? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Right? How can I kind of shore these weaknesses up? How can I make those better? Are there any little systems or things that I can put in place to help myself get a little bit better at that? And as a business owner, I'm asking myself that question daily. Where am I weak? Where am I weak? Hire for your weaknesses, or find your weakness and just try to find a way to work with it and maybe use it to your advantage in some way too, to get somebody else in the project.
I want to close out with one kind of final point. Okay. So I think part of getting good response from the people you are sending requests for information to is kind of meeting out and measuring the importance of your requests and understanding when they can come and not holding the whole project hostage for everything.
Yeah.
So this goes with that self-evaluation. I want you to think about the questions you're sending and think about how big a deal they are. Many times, this is another detailer thing. Mm-hmm. Detailers think all of it's a big deal. We've been trained all of it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. But I want you to know that sometimes a little bit of rework, rescrub isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
So don't be obstinate. I want you to really stop and reread the question, make sure it's clear. I want you to stop and think about the relationships around, like what's going on in the project. But I also want you to think about how important it really is. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to say the sky is falling, I want you to think about it first. Because if you say it 10 times in a project, you'll leave all of the equity on the table.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to get through the one you really need it on.
Yeah.
So, and that goes with 10 projects in a row you've worked with the same PM. So you can have that team and be doing well, but if you start sounding that alarm too much, you can really wear it out. So think about and evaluate these issues appropriately. Put them there in their appropriate place. Don't allow something that seems like a big deal to become a bigger deal than it is because you've gotten emotionally caught up in it. Mm. I want you to evaluate it without emotion for its proper place in the project and figure out what kind of deal it actually is.
Yeah.
If it's a big deal, then try to use those instincts to get through the red tape. Try to get around that sucker because you're going to be happier. You're going to be more profitable. It's going to have positive impacts. It's right for the project.
Yeah.
So, but don't hit that alarm button every time. You'll wear it out and you'll run out. You will not be able to continually do that without somebody coming back and being like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
So,
well, guys, hopefully that was helpful in some way, that gave you some food for thought, that was able to just kind of help you, work through some of your own issues on projects or whatever. But hey, we want to kind of open it up to you, right? So we have our nice little phone line that we use to answer questions for 5 Minute Friday. So if you listen to this and you're like, hey, I kind of have a question about something else that you guys said in here, bring it up. Hey, dig in. Let's dig into it a little bit. So if you want to call and just leave a quick little message with your name, that would be awesome. You might hear yourself on the show. That's always a lot of fun. So you could call us at 512-THE-BROS and leave your message there. And hey, we might pick it up and answer you here on a 5 Minute Friday coming up. So, all right, guys, that's all we got for you today. Go build something awesome.